Welcome to the November 16, 2017 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, VyseTheBold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
Oh, man. It is crowded in here.
Yeah, it's the deadly duo.
Pyro and Old Man Stompy are on sabbatical.
Yeah, they're too busy winning the Game of Thrones. We don't stand a chance.
They are on a field mission. They are out recruiting. So, anyway, you and I have another kind of an eclectic podcast this time around. About,
this is something that, for once, I'm bringing the topics of discussion in that you actually don't quite know about yet. Because usually, I just kind of go along with what other people talk about. But this time, I'm the one with the info. The first thing I think you actually are aware of, but the first two things I'll mention will go by, I think, pretty quickly. Injustice 2, the DC fighting game, recently had a character trailer reveal. The Ninja Turtles are going to be playable. That blows my mind. Now, you know what I find really funny about this, other than the fact that they're obviously not DC, is the Ninja Turtles are, like, not officially, but are, like, low-key in the Marvel universe. You know what I'm talking about?
How so?
Their connection to Daredevil. Are you aware of this?
Oh, okay, yes.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, the Ninja Turtles were originally created they were really grimdark, but that was the joke. A lot of people know Ninja Turtles as these wacky, goofy, the 80s cartoon, and that theme is carried on through pretty much most of their other media they've shown up in, with varying degrees of seriousness, but it was basically inspired by the TV show. But the original comics were super serious and violent, and that was the joke, because you're watching something as stupid as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the dumbest title that Eastman and Laird could think of, doing this hardcore serious stuff. Like, that was kind of funny by itself.
Sure.
And it was also sort of not a parody, but like inspired, but in a funny way, by Daredevil. Because
Yes.
Daredevil's origin story is that there was this truck driving with this bunch of toxic waste and on the back, and the truck like hit something, and a thing of the toxic waste spilled out, hit Matt Murdock in the eyes, blinding him, and he eventually gained like super hearing and became the Daredevil. And then, the other waste spilled away into like a storm drain, and that's the Ninja Turtles origin story. The toxic ooze spilled into the storm drain and landed on Turtles, who became the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Not only that, but I think it was Elektra's master in Daredevil's universe is named Stick, and the Turtles master is named Splinter.
Nah.
And on top of that, the faceless, endless ninja horde that you fight in the Daredevil universe is the Hand, whereas in the Turtles, it's the Foot. So,
yeah.
Officially, the Ninja Turtles were part of Mirage Comics, and they moved on to Archie. They weren't actually Marvel, but they're like low-key Marvel, and now they're in this DC fighting game, which just cracks me up. It's like this weird crossover.
Now they're owned by Nickelodeon, so...
Okay.
It's just kind of funny that Nickelodeon would actually like license it out to like WB.
Yeah, and like a very
funny.
serious like Injustice 2 is no joke. Like, we're not talking Justice League Unlimited, the cartoon. Like, Injustice 2 is super serious.
Wait a second. I think WB and Viacom, are they the same company now?
Oh,
no.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Wait, no, they are.
Are they?
So CBS and Nickelodeon and all the other and like MTV and Comedy Central are all owned by Viacom.
Oh wow.
Who are owned by Time Warner.
Okay.
So which is owned by AT&T now, I think. So yeah, they are actually under the same banner, which I never thought of before. They are technically owned by the same company, kind of like Disney and Marvel.
Turtles are allowed, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Disney and Marvel thing still weirds me out. Like I just have such difficulty imagining that in Kingdom Hearts
Star
3.
Wars. Star Wars
in
and
Kingdom
Marvel.
Hearts 3, you could have like Thor and like Luke Skywalker. It's like, what?
Yeah, that makes me wonder if they're going to do that. Like, because I know that they're very protective of the Star Wars brand and really haven't allowed it to disseminate into other parts of Disney.
Yeah.
But
so are we just never gonna have Princess Leia as a Disney princess then?
I know people want that to happen, but who knows?
We're not gonna have Queen Amidala. Well, I guess she's a queen, not a princess. Never mind, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Queens are evil, princesses are good.
An elected princess at that.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good... Yeah, wait. But yeah, so that was just a quick announcement there. Here's something I think you're going to find surprising, because this took everybody... this caught everybody completely off guard. Tekken 7. Tekken 7 has had some interesting character reveals, like, Geese Howard from King of Fighters. Are you kidding me? Like, that was such a cool reveal.
And Akuma, too, right?
Well, he wasn't DLC, but it was surprising enough that he was in the game and its story. That was weird by itself. But then Geese. So now we have Tekken, Street Fighter, and Art of Fighting / King of Fighters. Like, whoa. Now it just gets weird. Do you know? Did you hear about who the next character reveal is?
No idea. This is going to be completely new to me.
It's strange. Noctis from FF15.
Oh, I did hear about this. Okay, yeah.
Like, it's like... And the funny thing is, because the trailer shows, how he fights, of course. So they made it make sense. It's just, I wouldn't have thought of that. Wow. And what's funny is that he has his bros by the car, like, as a cheering section, kind of in the background. I just got a kick out of that. But it's like, Noctis from Final Fantasy 15? Like, that's not the direction I thought they would have gone in, but... Okay. I'm not going to complain. It's interesting. So yeah, here you go.
I think everybody's waiting for what Sega's going to do, because I think Sega's in talks with getting a character in
Kiryu.
So it's either going to be Kiryu or Akira. I think most people are thinking.
Oh,
or
Akira's
maybe
so
like Wolf.
boring.
Or wouldn't it be cool if you could be the character from Shenmue?
Oh, Ryo
Hazuki. Oh, yeah, Hazuki, is that
yeah, Hazuki, because I remember, like, the awkward dub, like, die, Hazuki! So, yeah.
Yeah. That would be pretty neat, too.
You know what would be kind of funny? Is if they ever released a Virtua Fighter 6 and actually had Lan Di playable, so you have, like, Lao Chan and Lan Di, who are just the same character. But...
Or, now, get this, maybe you could have that green duck from Sonic the Fighters.
He was already in a fighting game, though.
Sonic the Fighters.
well, duh. But, like, also Fighters Megamix.
Yeah. What was his... I forget what his name is. It's a weird name.
Yeah, I remember Bark the bear and Duck the something the duck. I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sonic the Fighters. I should beat that game so I see what the lore is.
Well, you know that it came out for PS3 and Xbox 360, right?
Actually, I'd completely forgotten about that. I think I only remember it on, like, the Sonic Gems collection for, like, the GameCube or something. It's like, remember this obscure title? Like, oh, yeah.
No, you can still buy it.
That's funny. That's pretty great. Finally, upscaled Sonic the Fighters, just like I've always wanted.
I've only ever seen that in an arcade once in all my travels.
The same. Yeah. I didn't even remember what it was called because it's such an awkward title. I remember I was in, like, summer camp and we got into some bowling alley and I was like, "There's a Sonic fighting game? All right." And then I never saw it again.
Yep.
That was weird. So those were two quick announcements. The other two things I have to bring up, though, I think we can actually really have a proper discussion about. So I'd asked you this before the podcast, Vice, but just so we can hear it on the air. Vice, have you heard of this new thing called the Sony Rewards Program?
So I don't know. Maybe if I read maybe something in passing, but relay why this is like big news.
This is an interesting concept. This is a copy paste that I'm reading from an article. Sony in the U.S. Again, in the U.S., I don't know if other territories are going to get it. Right now, it's going to be a United States exclusive, but Sony is adding a new incentive for getting trophies, like achievements in games. Trophies are going to be worth points. Like bronze aren't going to be worth anything as far as I'm aware, but like 100 silver trophies is worth 100 points, 25 gold trophies is worth 250 points, and 10 platinums is worth 1,000 points. So you have to work, and like 1,000 points translates to actually PlayStation Network credits. Like 1,000 points is worth like basically $10.
Wow.
Or maybe exactly $10. Now, from what I'm aware, any trophies you've already earned don't count, which sucks. But then again, imagine the hit Sony would take. But apparently we'll be able to work our way toward earning credit for getting trophies. Now,
that's actually really neat.
It's a clever idea. So there's actually a practical reason to get trophies instead of just like swag. Because, you know, before you would see on the PlayStation Network what your account's level is, but it doesn't actually mean anything. Like, I'm level 7, so what? Like, there's as far as I know, there's literally nothing you get from it. But now, if you get higher end trophies, you might actually be able to save money on items you buy on PlayStation Network, which is really cool. Now, I don't know if this is going to apply to every game or eligible games or what, but what's interesting is the potential and potential drawbacks that could come from this. Because the potential is just right there. You know, play games for trophies to get credit. Like, you save money by playing games. That's pretty cool. But there are certain directions this game could go in. You know, like, there's how I first felt when I first heard about achievements for, like, Half-Life 2 on the 360, which was... when I first heard about achievements, I'm more accustomed to them now, but I didn't like the idea of the game rewarding me for playing for playing in ways that I otherwise wouldn't have played. Okay. Let me just play the game my way. Like, don't make me feel obligated to do this weird thing to get that trophy.
I actually think that's the strength of it.
You know, I mean, no, that is the point, but like, it depends on perspective. But what I thought was interesting, though, so there's that. Like, oh, now I can get credit for it? Now I really feel obligated to do this thing I wouldn't otherwise have done. But what I also find interesting that someone on a forum had brought up that I'd never considered is that, like, I had actually thought of this as a joke, but do you remember that one Avatar game where you get a platinum for beating, like, level 1 or something? Because they were just like, fuck it, they're making us put trophies in the game, here's your stupid trophy.
Yeah, well, that's what I was actually going to ask about.
Yeah, how do we know that game developers aren't going to release their shitty games, but with easy-to-get trophies, so everyone will buy these really shitty games and dilute the market with crap because they're not buying it for the game, they're buying it for the trophies, you know? Like,
I would imagine that Sony is going to be policing that.
Yeah, I would hope so, but it's one of those things where, because it hasn't really, like, we don't really have any experience with this, it's kind of like, we'll see what happens. Like, you know, it's like Steam Greenlight. They want to make sure that the good games get through. You know, like, I don't want a bunch of crappy, like, $1 games that become the next new, like, sold 1 million copies because they had easy-to-access trophies. And it's like, look at what buyers are doing. Is this what the market's supposed to be now? Just a bunch of bullshit? So, like, yeah, Sony probably would police that, and they might, again, it might even only be certain games that allow you to do this.
Sure.
But if all goes the way it's supposed to go, then, yeah, I could see this being a pretty cool thing. And what's also interesting is that, like I said, 10 platinum trophies is 1,000 points. But remember, in order to get platinum, that, by definition, necessitates that you get all the silver and golds with it. So if you get 10 platinums, then you already have a bunch of silvers and golds. So, like, the platinum is just the icing on the cake of all the silvers and golds you otherwise would have gotten. You know, instead of saying, oh, I want to get certain amounts of silvers, if you get platinums, you're doing that anyway. So that's kind of cool. So, time to buy Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus on the PS4 so I can get all 500 trophies. No, honestly, that's not going to be worth it. You know, just, that probably won't be worth it unless there's a bunch of silvers and golds that are easy to get. Because that platinum, fuck that, man. I'm not putting 400 hours into one platinum trophy.
Now, that also makes me think of whether people are going to create multiple
accounts
and then try to beat the game multiple times.
That's a good point. Yeah, I wonder if Sony will track it on a per system basis or what. That's a good point. I don't know.
I'm sure they if we're thinking of it, they'll have thought
because otherwise, what's stopping me from getting that Korra game? Platinum, got it. Next account, platinum. Although then again, though, buying on PlayStation Network, isn't that tied to your account well, I guess you could pay for things with multiple accounts. So,
well, you could sign in as another user on a PS3 that already has a bunch of stuff downloaded by another user.
I have done that because I've made a foreign account so I could buy a Japanese game.
Sure.
So yeah, there is that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Sony will probably find some way to crack down on it. I just hope that it isn't a way that inhibits us from what we're used to already doing. Like, I really hope it isn't something like, suddenly PlayStation's a region locked now, so you don't make those foreign accounts. Like, I don't think it'll actually do that, but I just don't want this good thing to be policed in a way that's worse than the good thing we would have gotten. You know, like, I don't want to be restricted from what I was already doing. Like, what I'm doing is still legal, and I get what I want that you're not willing to sell me otherwise. So, like, please don't interfere with that.
I mean, I would say that I'm for this. It gives you another incentive. I mean, there are other companies that have things like this. I mean, like Nintendo has their Nintendo Rewards program that is kind of like the successor to My Nintendo or Club Nintendo. So you can buy, like, you know, free games every once in a while with those points, which is nice. Ubisoft has Uplay.
Yep.
Which is actually I kind of just dabbled in because, like, I had just only realized that I had, like, you know, several Ubisoft games that use that system, and I found out that I can, like, have access to some, like, DLC content without having to buy it because I've completed some achievements in the games. So I thought that was that was pretty cool. Like in Far Cry 4, I have access to I can decorate the elephants that I can ride in war paint, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
I don't know, you know, it's not something I would have bought, but it's still cool that it was a tangible reward, at least within the game.
Sure.
Something that's at least a little bit of fun. I just think that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I think rewards in themselves are a good thing. Unless it gets, like, really scammy or really prohibitive.
Well, actually,
I'm never against that kind of thing.
Well, actually, it's funny that you should bring that up, because that's a really nice segue into the other topic that I wanted to discuss, because, man, this blew up on, I want to say, Sunday. This exploded. Now, this is something I had brought up on the podcast, man, like a really early one, like months ago. But do you remember that discussion we had, that brief discussion about Dungeon Keeper on the iOS?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
So the deal with that was Dungeon Keeper is a brilliant game. I love it. Honestly, it holds up. That game's from the 90s. I swear it holds up. It's so good. And it was also released on the iOS, which actually seems like a pretty good idea, because that's the kind of game you were always allowed to save in the middle of a level and go away. So I feel that the game, some levels can get pretty long, so I actually feel that it lends itself pretty well to a mobile platform, I would think. The problem with the mobile version was that EA decided to be EA and just take a good thing and ruin it because they're extremely short-sighted.
Like SimCity, like they did that with SimCity.
Yeah, they took a good thing and they ruined it because they just do not respect their consumer base. And this, like, and I'm not even saying that like that's a decision I don't like. That means they don't respect them. No, I mean they don't respect them. Like, actually don't. And I'll get into that later. This first thing I'm talking about is a maybe. That might be me just complaining. But oh boy, I'll come back to this later. But what EA did to Dungeon Keeper was they took the game, and then Dungeon Keeper is all about digging. All about it. Like, you must dig through earth, because you're underground, to make hallways and then build rooms where you've dug. Like, digging is the entire game. So what EA did was they put a cap on how much you were allowed to dig within a certain period of time. They made it like a free-to-play mobile game, except it was like $10, so it's not free-to-play. So what they did was they put a cap on how much you were allowed to dig, and either once you hit that cap, you have to wait such and such a period before you could do it again, or you could pay to get through, which is just an extremely dick move. And just as icing on the cake, on iOS you can rate games you buy on, I think, like 1 to 5 stars. And if you rated the game anything other than 5 stars, you had to like fill out some questionnaire saying why, instead of just hitting it with a 4 or below star ranking. And it's just like, go fuck yourselves, EA. So
Wow.
let's talk about, and I mean this is from like a year ago. Let's talk about the more recent scandal, because have you heard of the thing with Battlefront 2?
Yeah. So you could explain it, but I know.
Yeah, this
I know
is
about it.
man. All right, so now this is a thing that's not really exclusive to EA, at least the basic concept. Now, what Vice was saying earlier regarding how working to get these rewards is pretty cool as long as it isn't scammy or whatever. Well, one thing that people I don't know about people in general. Like people on the forums I frequent, that's one thing, but they might just be a vocal minority. I don't know about everyone in the country. But one thing that I've seen at least forum posters getting tired of is not really loot boxes, but kind of how they're implemented. Because loot boxes are really cool because every once in a while it's like you leveled up, like Overwatch. You've played the game for such and such a period of time. You know what? Boom. Loot box. Let's see what you earned. Maybe it was a color for your character. Maybe it was a skin. I don't think you do character colors. Maybe it was a skin for your character.
It's never anything required, or it's not even usually like additional content. It's really just like a modification of what you already have.
Yeah, it's a new taunt your character could say, or an animation or whatever. Like, it's cool. You don't need it. It's cosmetic. You might feel obligated to get everything, though. That could lead you into a whole other path. The only thing I would say that there's legitimate cause for complaint about, though, is the timed exclusives, like Halloween skins or whatever, because
it sucks when you can't get them.
Yeah, you'd better get them within this period, or else they're gone. You know, and so people might feel obligated to pay for loot boxes in that case, because you can pay for them in Overwatch, I believe. And again, it's just cosmetic, but that's where people start to feel that it might be getting into gambling territory, because you're paying for something that has a chance of showing up. Yeah,
I mean, it's as much gambling as it is to buy a booster pack of Magic cards, but it's still a
well, that still is kind of, yeah, because, like, I'm going to keep buying those cards until I get that one rare I want. Like, you could go down the hole real quick. So people are getting concerned, like, I don't know if I like where loot boxes are going. And another problem with loot boxes is, like, at least for Overwatch, it's cosmetic. If you're neurotic about that kind of thing, I understand why that can go in a bad direction. But, like, it's not like you're missing a story mission or something. Other games, though, do sometimes put things that matter behind loot boxes, and we've heard about this stuff for a long time. This is not EA by any stretch of the means exclusively. I mean, we've heard of like pay-to-win games where you don't have to pay to play the game, but if you want to stand a chance against people who do pay, you'd better pay as well, because you get all the good stuff by paying. You know, it's bullshit like that. Man, okay. Let's talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2, because people were getting fed up with the concept of loot boxes and things like that in the general sense, because it's like, could I just pay for my game and then have the game? Now, the thing with a lot of video games is if you do such and such a thing, you unlock a secret character or stuff like that. You know, like that's been in games forever. The thing with Battlefront 2 is they're handling it in about the worst way they could. I'm going to click over to the actual Reddit post here, because here's the thing. With Battlefront 2, there are some characters who are locked. Okay. This does not surprise me in the slightest. The thing is, though, Well, I'm putting the cart before the horse. Let me explain. So there are characters that are locked. Well, you know what? Good. I like unlocking stuff. You know, if I play the game, I unlock cooler stuff. Fine.
Sure.
Good. But the way they're going about this, though, so Battlefront 2 is, it's Star Wars Battlefront. It's not just, like, straight up, military Battlefront. It's Star Wars Battlefront. So one of the characters who is locked is Darth Vader. So, all right. But somebody had made a post on Reddit which let me click the actual topic post. The topic is called...
One of the developers of the game, I think, right?
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Just wait till I get started. So, the topic is called... Seriously? I paid $80 to have Vader locked? Because, like a lot of video games, they cost $60, but you could get some sort of special edition for more. So I guess this was $80. I don't know what this one entails. And the guy was like, the post was, "This is a joke. I'll be contacting EA support for a refund. I can't even play fucking Darth Vader? Disgusting. The age of microtransactions has gone way too far. Leave it to EA, though, to stretch the boundaries." So you could write that off as just a whiny post, but... Oh, man. Okay, so here's the thing. Yeah, like... I paid more and I don't have the character unlocked. Well, you could say, well, of course you could play the game to unlock Vader.
Probably bought like the $80 edition is usually like it comes with all the DLC or something like that.
Yeah, or something like that. I mean, usually I would expect that released months later or whatever, but like, who the hell knows? Whatever. Play the game and unlock him. Oh, this guy's just whining. But, oh, good lord. So here's the thing. The way to get Vader is, somebody determined how many like points you need to unlock him.
It's roughly 40 hours.
Yeah, it's about 40 hours of gameplay. Because somebody made that distinction in the thread. They're like, it takes about 2 days to unlock him. And someone was like, no. 2 days of gameplay. Not you sitting down and playing a game for a little while for 2 days.
Total days.
Like 40 hours of you playing Battlefront. There are epic length games. Like Uncharted 4 is shorter than 40 hours. By a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Most action games are 12 to 20.
Yeah, like playing Battlefront, which
Maybe
I think
8,
is... And Battlefront is...
Game.
Yeah, and Battlefront is very heavily focused on multiplayer anyway. So you're just straight up grinding to unlock Vader. 40 hours is too long. If it was like a few hours to unlock him, that's how most games work. You play for a while... Oh, look at that, I got something. 40 hours is too long. Now, here's the part that made people furious. You don't have to play for 40 hours to unlock Vader. You could pay to unlock him, which... This wasn't the part that quite made people furious. I'll get to that part shortly. But the fact that you can... Like, this is this is the Dungeon Keeper thing all over again. 40 hours is too long. You're really not supposed to actually play for that long to unlock Vader. Nobody wants to put up with that, and EA knows it.
Not only that, but it's multiple characters. So
yeah.
there are multiple characters in the game. So it's 40 hours for Vader, but then there's another 40 hours for Luke Skywalker, and then there's like another 40 hours for Chewbacca, and then there's another 40 hours for
that's
Emperor.
the thing. Like that's the thing.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
nobody's gonna play that game that much.
Yeah, and like somebody posted this again. 40 times 3 is not hardcore math, but I mean when you see it typed out, someone's like
120 hours is like
someone's like to unlock 3 heroes, 120 hours. Like
only SMT fans like Pyro would.
Yeah, like Disgaea, like doing everything in Disgaea is like 100-something hours, and that game. That's when you're pushing it. Even
There's
that's
lots of content though. Like,
but even then, it's post game stuff.
Yeah.
Like 90 of those 100 hours is like the post game extra stuff that you feel like doing. So like that's way too long, and it's supposed to be way too long. It's like the game is trying to tell you really should be paying for this because look, nobody wants to do this. We know that. So it's really EA trying to get you to pay for this stuff instead of play it for a bajillion hours.
It's like a lot of cell phone games. Eventually you get to the point where you have to play the game for like a month in order to get the next thing.
Yeah, and as dickish as that is, though, cell phone games are often free to play. That's how they make their money at all. Like, I don't like that. I still don't like that, but I understand. If they're gonna give you the game for nothing, they gotta get their money somehow.
I'd rather
but this
buy
game
a
is
game
fucking
for
$60.
$40.
You already paid for it.
I'd rather buy a game for $40 once than a bunch of $2 transactions.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I keep playing that phone game, I'll have paid for more than the actual cost of a retail game. It just doesn't feel like it. It's that gambling addiction. It's not literally gambling at that point, but it's that addiction that gets you, and it can really suck people in. But so like. This 40-hour thing is like unreasonable because it's already on a $60 or even $80 game. Like that's and now they're pushing this like free to play like keep paying bullshit on you. And again, you don't have to, but yeah, you do. No one's gonna do the 40 hours. Like that's insane. Now, here's the part that made people livid. A developer actually responded, which I actually thought was rather interesting, because the topic itself, how many people complain about this, that, or the other, about some new game that's out? Someone's like, man, goddamn it, $80 with no Vader, blah, blah, blah. And the developer actually responded to this, which, number one, kudos to them, but number two,
it's probably a mistake.
Say literally anything other than what you said.
Yeah, it
Jesus
was probably a mistake.
Christ.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Before I get into that response, somebody had posted in this thread, back in the day, if I... No, you know what? I'll deal with the response after. Let's go right to the developer's response right now. So keep in mind, it's unlikely that this is like what the CEO said. This is probably the PR guy who was told to throw something in, or the community manager, or whatever. So, like, I'm not going to blame this person, but the company. Fuck you. And this is after EA has literally been voted the worst company in the country. I forgot what year, but it's gotten that reward before. Or award. Not reward. So I paid $80 to have Vader locked. This is bullshit. Da-da-da-da-da. So the developer replies, and I quote, the intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta and other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, because remember, as you play, you earn credits to unlock Vader. So we're looking at player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course attainable via gameplay. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as soon and as often as we can. So that sounds like a pretty solid response, but again, neither the initial poster nor this person mentioned 40 hours for one hero. So, like, people blew up over the pride and accomplishment. Because number one, not everybody has 40 hours. We have lives. You know, I'm not playing video games for 10 hours a night. Like, I have my fucking job. I can play for like 2 hours on a day where I can play at all. You know, like, finally, my 2 hours.
2 to 3 hours a week.
Yeah, so there's that. But even if you're a kid, 40 hours. So, like, here's the thing. A sense of pride and accomplishment to not, like, what undercuts that is that after 40 hours, I don't feel accomplished. I feel exhausted. And what someone else had posted was that, like, because you could skip this sense of pride and accomplishment by paying, which is some bullshit. Like, that's the thing. You don't have to do this if you pay for it, which is horseshit. And as someone said in the responses, if I wanted to forego my sense of pride and accomplishment and just look like a scrub, then I would enter a cheat code, not my fucking credit card number. And that's the big complaint. You know, if you want to be that like, oh man, you didn't do it the real way, you used the code, you didn't have to pay money for it. That's the whole thing. After you paid full price for a AAA title for a multi-billion-dollar company, EA, one of the bigger companies out there, and this game's going to make them a freaking ton of money, and now you got to keep paying, getting nickel and dime with microtransactions, that's ludicrous. Like, that cannot be tolerated. So, like, again, the problem is everybody's still going to buy this game because it'll be fun. So, like, EA is still going to get away with it because the people who really want to pay for this stuff will. But it's such, like, this is what I was saying earlier, it's such a, what's the word, like, condescending, I guess?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's quite the right word.
They don't even understand.
It's not condescending. It's disdain. It's such disdain for its consumer base. That's what it is. The same thing applied for SimCity.
They
like
really think they're animals, you know, like they
Well, no, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned SimCity a little while ago, but for anyone who doesn't remember or didn't hear about it, SimCity was locked with DRM, which you had to be online to play the game. Now, I understand that for a lot of games, but the thing is, SimCity has 0 online components. It's an offline, like, it's a single player, not online game. and the fact that you had to be online to play it just left a bad taste in people's mouths, because EA was basically saying, we just assume that everyone's a pirate, so we're going to punish the people who are actually legally buying our game with DRM. And so a lot of people ended up pirating that game because there was a cracked version without the DRM.
Yeah.
Like, just out of spite. Like, if you're going to treat me like a pirate, then fuck you, I may as well be a pirate. Like, how about you treat me with respect, and I'll return respect of my own, you know? Like, I mean, I've bought games that I've already actually torrented before they came out in the States, because I wanted to give money to developers for, like, and show them, yes, I like that thing you're doing. I had downloaded this game because I didn't think we'd get it, but now that we did, you know what? Take my money. With SimCity, I mean, I did not get SimCity at all, but, like, it was the opposite case there, I think. Don't treat your entire fucking hundreds of thousands of consumers, maybe even millions, like they're all criminal scum who can't be trusted, because that leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And here they're not doing that, but they're saying, oh, well, you get a sense of accomplishment by doing that thing that intentionally takes too long and we expect you to pay for. Like, no, like, again, how about I tell you what gives me my sense of accomplishment? You don't tell me what I like. I tell you what I like, and then you'll learn how that works and make games based on general consumer feedback. Don't try pushing your audience into a corner and saying, this is what you like, now drink your medicine. You know, that's some bullshit. and again, I'm sure Battlefront will actually be a fun game, and I'm sure a lot of people will buy it. And in a way, that's a shame, because I don't think EA is going to get the message. They're obviously getting this Reddit message. This is the #1 most downvoted comment on Reddit.
Yeah.
That developers' response. Do you know how many downvotes it has?
I'm sure millions at this point.
No, that's too much. Like the post is only the post has been up for 1 day.
Oh, okay, so it's thousands then.
582,000.
Jesus.
In 1 day. That's impossible. and yet it's happened. And this is well after comments have been locked on the topic. People have not been able to post here for a good period of time.
I kind of want to get in on it. I kind of want to...
Yeah, and some people were making snarky comments like, oh man, if I had to pay to be able to downvote you twice, I would. And, you know, stuff like that. Like, the sass is real. Like, there are some people with, like, straight serious complaints. Like, dude, I don't have all the time in the world to make these posts. But there are just some, like, there are some bitter posts. Oh, come on. Everyone and their mother knows that this is to force players to grind for a piece of a product they should have already gotten when they purchased the game in order to get to us to buy loot boxes. Not even a 5-year-old would fall for this. And there's, thanks for confirming my refund. Or unlocking characters we could already play as in the first game. Or 40 hours isn't pride, it's madness. One of my favorite... Wow! Right, Vice, do you use Reddit?
I do.
Alright, so do you know what gilding is when posts have gold?
I don't know. I don't understand that end of it.
I think it's mostly for swag. You get access to some, like, forum that only gilded people can go to. I don't even know how often people use it, but it's just kind of like... It's really more just for bragging rights. Like, my post was so good that some nice user actually paid money to give me gold, because you have to pay money to gild yourself or others. So it also kind of helps Reddit keep the site afloat. That's how they get some of their money. So if you ever get gold, it really means something. You know, anybody can upvote or downvote, but if someone gives you gold, they mean it. They paid to give you honor for your post. Okay?
Wow.
So if you ever see somebody with 2 gold or whatever, that didn't even need to happen. They already got gold. But somebody else was like, I will also pay money to give this guy gold. So if you ever see posts with more than 1 gold, that's pretty rare. Like, gilded posts are sprinkled around. They're not common, but you'll see them. But posts with 2 gold, or God forbid 3, that's a real achievement. Multiple people paid money to give you a shout out, right? Let me show you something. Here's a post. I'm going to read the post first, okay? Here's the post responding to the developer. I recognize that you are a frontline level employee in a multi-billion-dollar entertainment conglomerate, and that you likely have no say in the message you're giving. Likely, your manager and your manager's manager don't have the right to call into question the strategic business decisions that get made by the highest levels of the company. So please understand that when I say this, I am not saying it to you. I feel for you, because you have a lonely, thankless job trying to do your best to rehabilitate the public face of an incredibly hated company. I don't resent you at all. I don't resent your manager. And I respect the person behind the keyboard. Next paragraph. But fuck EA. I don't buy your games anymore. I am beyond insulted by the microtransaction / season pass / greedy lazy business model that your company has perfected over the past decade or so. It's disgusting. It's a perversion of gaming. The suits that control your company aren't interested in anything but pushing out shitty incremental upgrades to keep us wasting money on shit and on getting a small percentage of addicts to bankrupt themselves $5 at a time. It's fucking deviant. It's absolutely irresponsible. It's disgusting. In italics, fuck you guys. I am not buying another EA game again until the upper levels of business management at EA are fucking stripped down and replaced by people who aim to make fair profits by producing great content again. And this is an aside, but remember, Cuphead's like $20, and they made fucking bank because they made a good game.
Yeah.
Back to the post. EA used to do that, but it's been years, and I'm done pretending. Every new game that I've bought for the past year, I've checked to make sure that EA was, italicized, not involved before paying. I plan to continue that until serious changes are made. You can't fix this. I know your bosses want you to, but you can't, because somewhere there's a CEO or president of game design or a fucking board of directors who have decided to produce shitty games loaded with dopamine drops to leech money rather than earn it. That person has ruined your company's goodwill. So that's the post. First of all, lots of posts in this thread have, like, many thousands of likes. This one got a good 20.6k. 13 gold. Like,
wow.
That doesn't happen. Like,
people
that's a good post.
Paid a person for that, but won't pay for Darth Vader, which is hilarious.
Well, that's the thing. Gold. I forgot how much gold is, but it's probably $1 or $2.
Yeah,
and that's
but
like that's
they
like
actually paid for something they liked.
That's half a Battlefront character right there.
And they didn't need to at all to gain access to it. They
13
just
people
paid it because they liked it.
Yeah, 13 people paid, not that guy, but paid Reddit to guild that guy, which means that once you're gilded, you're gilded. So 12 of those gildings did not help the guy whatsoever. And maybe even all 13 didn't, because once you're gilded, you stay that way for 6 months. But they're doing it to send a message. So, like, assuming gilding is $1, I don't know how much it is. If it's $1, then that's 2 heroes. If it's $2, then that's like 5 heroes that they could have collectively bought on Battlefront that they're not going to. Like, I don't know if, like, that's not a big enough message to really get across to EA, you know, like $13 or $26 or whatever, but within the context of the thread, that's a really big deal.
So did you read about EA's response to this all?
No, because this is still a relatively new development.
Okay, so Kotaku actually reported that EA reacted to this.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they reacted almost immediately.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah. So they are tone deaf, but they are not stupid.
Well, that's the thing. They make dumbass decision after dumbass decision, but I guess if they're called on it to a great enough degree, bad PR is like the worst possible thing.
Yeah, give me. Yeah, EA cut Star Wars Battlefront 2 hero costs after widespread anger.
Number 1, good. Out. Number 2, cut the fucking time it takes to unlock the characters. I know that means that people won't pay at all. They don't have to, but like, it's the time that's the problem, not the pay. I mean, well, the pay. Well, no,
they cut the cost of time. So
okay, all right.
So,
do you know?
Let me read off.
Okay.
The exact thing. So, a new blog post announced that the price of heroes will be reduced by 75%. That's huge.
Yeah, so we're going from 40 hours to like 75, so to 10.
Yes, which is very reasonable. 10 hours
for 10
to
hours
unlock.
per character is still a lot, but like that is a really big deal.
I think it's reasonable in a game like this. That's
Yeah,
supposed to be
I guess
played.
if it is like Call of Duty, you will be playing it for a long time, and 10 hours might be like 2 or 3 nights. So like that's okay.
Okay, so like Team Fortress 2 is a game that you're meant to be playing for years, right?
Yeah.
We like Overwatch is a game that will be played for years. Like there's a large segment of that community that only plays Overwatch and maybe one other game.
Oh yeah.
So they go home and they play Overwatch. You know, they don't play anything else. They go on there and they'll play Overwatch, or they'll go on there and they'll play TF2. So like that's what all multiplayer games aim to be, right?
Yeah.
They aim to be the mainstay, and to the point where they can make updates to the game incrementally and not have to make a sequel. It'll be a living, breathing thing.
Well, that's the whole beauty of it. Like we already talked about how even with Overwatch, like, ooh, I might be compelled to get that special Halloween DLC or whatever with loot boxes, but at least it's cosmetic. When there's a new character, as far as I know, it's free. So it's like, guess what, guys? Your game just grew because you all paid for the base game, and enough of you paid for loot boxes that we could just give this to you. Like that's great.
So Luke Skywalker and Vader used to cost 60,000 in-game credits to unlock, but will now cost 15 instead. 15,000. Emperor Palpatine, Chewbacca, and Leia will be reduced from 40,000 to 10,000 credits. Okay. The game's protagonist, Eden Versio, will have her cost reduced to 5,000 credits.
Wait. The game's main Oh, because in multiplayer you don't play as a story character. Otherwise, you just have some rando.
So yes, okay. So it's like this. It's kind of like Magic: The Gathering. Like you have legends, and you have basically you play as a mook. Right?
Well, no, sure, yeah. In the story mode, you play as a main character, but you can't all be the main character. Yeah, I remember. I remember old school Battlefront, old school Star Wars Battlefront, like from like
you're a stormtrooper
90s.
In that, basically.
Yeah, everybody's a stormtrooper, and it was all good. But the funny thing is, like EA's previous Battlefronts, I remember that one getting flack. It looked gorgeous, and I think it played well. But I remember that game
didn't have a whole lot of content.
It was bare bone. I remember the big complaint about that game is like, how come the game I played on like the original Xbox had more to offer than
so this game is supposed to fix that. It's supposed to have a robust one-player single-player campaign and things that people wanted. Whereas the first game was kind of like it's kind of like King of Fighters 12. I know I'm making a reference for only myself.
It's absolutely gorgeous, but like, where's the roster?
Exactly. Yeah, they
don't have Mai.
What the hell?
Like, Mai was never the main character, but she's a staple.
But she's like Chun-Li, right? Like
Ryu's the main guy in Street Fighter, but like, if you're missing Chun-Li, it's like, whoa, now. Like, I remember with Street Fighter 3, that was actually supposed to be a 100% new cast.
Yeah.
But with fan demand, they're like, dude, you gotta at least put Ryu and Chun-Li in there.
Well,
and
they had
Akuma.
Ryu initially, and then they added Ken and Akuma, and then they
Ken. Yeah.
They added Chun-Li.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, Chun-Li was never the main character, but like, she's definitely more important than like E Honda. It's like you gotta have Chun-Li.
Well, there are plenty of people that play a large percentage of Street Fighter, players will main her.
Like King of Fighters is a bunch of original characters, but it was originally like a clever crossover between like Art of Fighting and like Fatal Fury. So like, you gotta have Mai. She's from Fatal Fury.
She's one of the main characters.
Yeah.
It's your bread and butter of
exactly. She's the Chun-Li of Fatal Fury. Like, it's Terry's story, but like, Mai, come on, how do you not have her in KOF 12?
Yeah, well, this is basically they released an unfinished game. It was cool enough. It's kind of like buying a demo. Almost was the first. The first game was almost like a demo.
No, but the thing is, though, like, before you knew that, that actually got me nervous for the fate of SNK. Like, thank God KOF 13 just totally turned that around.
that game almost didn't get released, and thank God it did.
And good thing it did, because it's been showing up in Evo for years. That game is hype.
And 14's great too. I might add, but 14.
14 was one that's still in Evo, but 13 was great.
Became good.
Yes.
14 for a long time didn't look good, and then they made a big update to it that made it look good.
Oh no, I was right the first time. 13's the one that was consistently in Evo, but yeah, 14. I remember the old trailers for 14 were lambasted.
Ugly.
Like everyone was like, "Oh man, this is the greatest looking PS2 game I've ever seen." But like, now it actually looks gorgeous.
Yeah, no, it's a good game now, but it took some time. So this is kind of like also what's been happening a lot lately with certain games. So like Street Fighter V, for instance, released very similarly. It didn't have a one-player mode. It didn't have an arcade mode, rather.
Do you know what the context was for Street Fighter V?
Well, you were supposed to be buying seasons, right?
No. I mean, do you know why? I mean, yes, but do you know why it released in such an unfinished state?
I didn't hear that part.
Part of it was, I think, to coincide with Evo. They wanted it to be like a big, like they wanted to have a big public venue for it, like hype Street Fighter V fighting game tournament Evo, like, and that because that is like the best possible time to release it. Sure. But like all of the stuff wasn't there yet, and Capcom's biggest mistake though was catering to the hardcore crowd. That was a huge mistake, because the hardcore crowd know the game better than anybody, but guess what? Everybody,
it's a small segment of people.
Like your little brother, is the main group of people who buy Street Fighter. Like the people who've been buying it since 2. Street Fighter 2 wasn't this tournament game. It was like, oh, let's go to the toy store and buy Street Fighter 2. Like
Street Fighter 4 was popular because it was very easily accessible to anybody.
Yeah, like Capcom's problem was they catered to, and I think this includes the lack of arcade mode, because like you're gonna be playing multiplayer anyway. That's what it's all about. They catered to their vocal minority, but guess what? It's a minority. So the bajillion other people who would buy the game were dissatisfied.
Play them for the one-player mode, basically.
Yeah, I don't even have Street Fighter V, but if I did, I would dick around the story mode. That's why I bought Mortal Kombat X. I wanted to play through the story mode, and then I did, and I was done with the game. And I know that I'm not the normal person for that, but like even people who just dick around with their friends want to play Mortal Kombat, like it really is supposed to be multiplayer, but like it's like the casual crowd is the crowd, and Capcom alienated them by looking toward their hardcore crowd. I totally get why they did it, but that was a crippling mistake.
Yeah. So I just love this, though. I mean, you finally put out the game that you're supposed to put out, and then you like smack people around and and treat them.
That's the problem. It's one thing to make a really stupid decision, but it's another to publicly double down on that decision. Because again, you don't have to pay, but like, the hell you don't. Nobody's putting down 40 hours for one character. Like, there's no goddamn way.
Their big mistake there was having the person who was speaking was also speaking the way, like,
corporate
somebody would speak in a boardroom. Which
we'll analyze these player feedback from the open beta. Yeah,
because that corporate speak is very like treats their customer base like cattle. Also dumbs them down.
I didn't even seeing it. Honestly, I didn't see it as dumbing it down. What it took it for me, it was the message that treated the customers as cattle. What the corporate speak, the effect that had on me was like, you don't know how to talk to the consumers. Like, it would make sense in a boardroom.
What I was going to get at. What I was getting
it's just alienating. It's like, he's not one of us. This guy doesn't empathize with our problems.
They need a skilled PR person that can back up the decision, but also empathize with the customer base.
Get the Arby's guy in on this. That guy will fucking kill it.
Well, what these people are supposed to do is say, hey, you know what? Maybe it is a price to pay, but here, at least, maybe it'll be fun to play through the game a lot, Or, that was something like that.
Yeah, the actual message, again, was like, well, you get a sense of pride. It provides players with a sense of pride and accomplishment. The unlock does that, not the fucking 40 hours. I understand you gotta work at it. There's your sense of accomplishment, but, like, don't make it a job. You know,
know
now, I understand.
What would be cool?
Yeah.
If they gave you a special version of Vader that looked different for grinding him out rather than buying him.
That actually would be clever.
That would be really neat, because then you could be like, oh, I got the real
I actually earned this one.
The real one. Yeah, that's like a sense of accomplishment.
I could actually see that. Then that's almost like 2 characters at that point too. Or at least a special costume. But yeah, the problem was though, you're telling me what I find pride and accomplishment in, and like you said, corporate speak, our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback, and it just sounds very harumph kind of. And again, I know this guy doesn't have the power to make big decisions. He's not going to go, I'll lower the price. There's no way he was going to lower the price for you. But that response was very we know what the gamers want better than the gamers themselves. And it's I don't even know if that's what the actual guy would have typed if he'd had full control over his post. But that's what was typed. So it's just people were livid. So so now there were even some people who joined the Reddit thread saying, I don't know anything about Star Wars Battlefront 2, except that I found this post because it's trending as the #1 most downvoted post on Reddit, so now I do know. This is spreading really bad PR. I didn't know about it until a forum said, hey, look what happened. I'm not following Battlefront 2 that closely. I never cared about the Battlefront games. They're cool, but they're not my thing. But now, look at me getting impassioned over this thing that I'm not even personally, I don't have a stake in. Just on principle. Companies shouldn't be doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they changed, but it's sad that they had to do that. And the fact that the change was so fast means they probably were aware in the first place that it was not a bad decision, but a quote evil one. We know they'll be mad, but more people will pay than will not buy the game. So according to the chart, our profit margin should exceed our deficit. That's just what I get the feeling they were thinking. Acceptable losses. But this is it's gone too far, so they're maybe we better backpedal. It's just such a cynical thing to do as a game company. And what makes me even sadder is that you know perfectly well the people who actually built the game, they're probably freaking Star Wars nerds. They're probably oh man, people are going to love our Battlefront game. You know damn well some exec was and by the way, change the numbers so this is what it takes to unlock them. You know, it's when they make you tack on multiplayer for a game that was never intended to have it. Put a multiplayer on. But the game goes out tomorrow. We never even blueprinted a multiplayer. Put it on anyway. And you have some slapshot piece of shit multiplayer that detracts from the single player campaign because you can't do 2 things at once. I hate business decisions like that. I actually really feel bad for EA game developers because I'm sure that they really do care. It's just too bad that that's the company they're working for.
Yeah. This is why this company has been labeled as the worst company.
Yeah, well, it's just like Konami. What great game developers. What great games. Too bad their bosses are the scum of the universe.
Yeah, and they keep they keep taking away things you like Dead Space and Mirror's Edge and things like that, because they don't know how to make these things fun and profitable. They know how to make them fun theoretically, and they know how to make them profitable, but they don't know how to do both. Overwatch is fun and profitable, right?
The shame of it was they did make Dead Space fun and profitable. The problem is, if a company ever merges with EA, if EA ever buys a company, it's just the kiss of death. Guru Larry actually had a fact hunt video, which was depressing as shit to watch, which was the top 5 companies that were just killed by EA. And when they're bought by EA, they're either liquidated almost immediately, or they make a couple of pretty cool games until there's literally one mistake. And EA was you had your chance, and the company just dies.
Yeah.
And it's just legitimately sad.
Well,
and
Visceral
Bullfrog,
games...
going back to Dungeon Keeper.
Yeah.
Bullfrog died, and Bullfrog was so good.
Yeah. Well, Peter Molyneux, everything he puts out is great.
No, well, actually, that's the funny thing is, in Guru Larry's videos, I think literally every Fact Hunt video he does, he takes a pot shot at Peter Molyneux because like he keeps failing to deliver on these extravagant promises that there's no way he could actually fulfill. Like for how comprehensive Black and White or Fable would be, you know. But he really, really did deliver on Dungeon Keeper. And I think the EA companies they absorbed that go to die, I think that was like the one Fact Hunt video where Guru Larry actually gave a positive shout out to Molyneux. Like, that never happens. And he's like, well, you know what? He did do this. So there's that. Like it's like it made me feel even worse for like just the fate of Dungeon Keeper.
Yeah. It's I hope they would learn over time, but they, you know, the funny thing is they've been rated the worst company in America like many times.
Yeah, more than once. Can you believe it? They haven't
improved. Like, they haven't gotten any better.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. We have Dungeon Keeper on iOS. Like, hey, gamers, fuck you. I'll take a perfectly good product and directly interfere with it and make you pay. Well, or wait, but encourage you to pay. Like, that's not how Dungeon Keeper was made. They literally took a functional game and actively interfered with it, and they wanted you to pay to undo the intentional damage that they did. And it's a very similar thing with Battlefront, except Battlefront's being built that way. We're going to make this grind a bitch, but you could pay to circumvent the obstacles that we're putting in front of you. That's such a dick move. Again, like that other guy said, back in my day, we would use cheat codes. Now, this is before DLC existed. I grant you that. That wasn't even possible. So, fuck it, cheat code. But even so, like, now we gotta, like, pay to get past what I don't feel like doing myself. Like, that's... And again, this is not a free-to-play game. This is a full-priced, AAA, blockbuster title. $60 if you get the standard edition, and apparently $80 if you take it a step up. And now you gotta pay for shit like $5 per hero, of which there are several. Like, I don't want to pay for another half of a game's worth, like, of money to get the shit I paid for.
Yeah.
Like, I do understand wanting to circumvent unlock time, but the unlock time is not supposed to be insurmountable to the point where you have to pay for it. Yeah. Like, I don't want to pay so what little time I have off of work can be used to play the character I want. That's horse shit. That's just, again, such a mean-spirited thing for EA to do.
I agree.
Even if it works, and apparently it does work because they keep doing it. People buy into the loot boxes. They really do. It works. It does work. It is not a good, but it is an effective business decision. But it's so cynical and, like I already said, mean-spirited and condescending towards the play. Like, there's no respect for the players.
Yeah. Like,
here's an intentionally bad game, or at least an intentionally flawed game, that you can pay for us to pull back our own flaws. Fuck you. I remember when we talked about Dungeon Keeper in that other way older Corrective Consciousness, I remember one of the commenters on the YouTube page saying, whoa, this is the first time I ever heard you use, like, the F word, because I don't normally do that on my videos. I'm more liberal about it on the podcasts, but on my Let's Play channel, I really don't do that. So they were kind of like, whoa, Lotus Prince went there. But, like, here I am again for the same exact reason. And, like, just as passionate as I was before. Like, I actually do care about Dungeon Keeper, just not on mobile. I don't care about Battlefront, but it's the same shit again. It's just so bad.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't like it, and I won't be playing that game. It's not the type of game I would play anyway, but I completely understand in every single way.
And, like, what kills me is that EA pulled back on it, which was a really good thing for them to do. But what bothers me is I can't read the future, so I might be completely wrong, but I get the feeling this isn't going to change EA's philosophy. Like, I get the feeling they were like, ooh, geez, more people were into Star Wars than I thought. Maybe we'll try this with a different game. Like, I get the feeling this is not going to change.
That's the way I think it'll happen.
Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah. I mean, I hope for the best, but I'm not going to bet on it.
But you'll jam with the rest.
If you can't hope with the best, then you pay for microtransactions with the rest.
So I think a lot of our audience will agree. I mean, I don't think anybody who's on the side of them. So anyway, that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. I fucked up. We'll have to restart the whole podcast, Lotus.
Oh, no!
While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as VyseTheBold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, and Twitter.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing some of my videos early, or getting in on exclusive live streams, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll catch you back again on Tuesday.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.